Hello, welcome back to Rich Tech. Today we're going to look at this cable. It's a MagSafe 1 cable with this L-shaped connector, and I'll cut it off from there. So that's the junction, and the cable runs all the way to there. Now I found out that this cable has a problem, which we want to diagnose anyway to see where the problem is. If this cable is working fine, we should have a light there. Of course, when we've connected all this assembly to a charger, it should turn from green to amber when it's charging, but it's not charging. So we want to diagnose what is the problem with this cable, and to do that we'll need a simple multimeter, just like this one. A simple cheap multimeter. If you have that, then you're good to go. And we are going to use this mainly to test for continuity and shorts. We want to see if this cable has a short circuitry somewhere along itself, and if there is continuity between this end and this end. And for that we're going to use the connectivity function of this multimeter. If we place our multimeter to that function right there, then if we touch the two ends of the multimeter, the two cables ends, there will be a sound showing us that there is contact, and that is a good feature for multimeters. Now to start with, these are the ends of my multimeter. Just touch them together. That sound shows that there is continuity. Now we test for the continuity and the short. These two wires are in this cable. They are not supposed to touch, so I'm going to test for that. Now we have a problem here. That sound tells us that this wire is connected to this at some point along the cable, and that is a problem. That's why our cable is not working. So I'm going to look for the short which we appear to be having along this wire, and determine how to rectify it. The most probable place where we have the short could be this junction right here. As with most Apple products or cables, you find them failing at the joints or the junction right here, like this right here. So a casual look doesn't give us any cause for concern. I can even twist this around and feel if there is any breakage of the wires. At that point there is none. So the other probable problem or cause would be maybe there is a break in this cable at some point and the wires are touching. So I'm going through the cable, that is, and all the way up to the end here. There seems to be no break in the cable. Now the other point where we'll have our short is right here. At this point this cable goes in here, and the two wires are attached to these pins inside this connector. So that's the other possible point of contact which is causing our short. Now for us to diagnose that, we'll need to go in here, open up this, and go in there. But as a start, we can also do this: rotate the cable. You see that? If you rotate the connector and the cable is stagnant, if this is rotating, it means the wires inside are broken. When you rotate this, the whole cable should rotate like this. But if you hold that and you rotate it, it means there is a breakage in the wires inside here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this steel box like structure. The end here is just to enable connectivity. So we are going to go ahead and remove that, and for that we use our long nose pliers. You do that, but also make sure you don't spoil or you put marks on it. So I'm going to use the flat portion of this round portion of the pliers. Pull it up just like that. You don't need that now. Now the next thing you want to do is to remove these pins and the assembly out of this aluminum casing. Using some heat on this end, just place your soldering iron right there, and it will loosen any glue which is holding the assembly with the pins inside. So with that loosened, you can now take anything which can be able to push this back. There it goes. You want to remove it from that end. This assembly locks into place on this side, so you push it back and lift it up. There we go. You can see it's coming out. You can aid this by pushing from this cable on this side. Before we start pushing it, let's make sure that this will come out straight. And lift this up. Now I've lifted this out, but it seems it has a problem coming out. If you look on this side, you can see that we have those two lights which come up when you connect to a charger. Those two small lights right there. But if you look on this side, it seemed to have broken and left the lights inside. On this side, it seems that the two lights have been left, and the whole circuit on this side has slid off. Now this is a danger you will encounter when removing this connector. It's very delicate. When you remove the glue from this side, the glue on this side remained holding that, and so it pulled off the circuitry on this side. So let's see if we can be able to repair this. You can see that's what it's looking like from that side. You can pull these out completely, just like that. Here is our connector. This side is perfect. This side is destroyed. And there seems to be some contacts which have been pulled off, ripped off from this metal plate right here. And here is a cause of our short. I don't know if this will still work, but because this is a teardown, we want to see how much this connector assembly can endure and still go back to service. This side is okay. This side has been ripped off from that. So we want to attempt to return this to that point right there and glue it over that. I don't see any connections right here. There seems to be none. This other side, I don't see any connections. So the only thing which I could get from this is that this circuit board right here has been stuck to this metal plate right here with glue, and that's it. And I'm going to attempt to do that. And this is super glue. I realized that super glue works fine, perfectly for such electrical repairs. Now carefully, let's place this down. Alright, this is our result. After holding this down for a few minutes, the super glue is set, and this is our result. As you can see, inside this connector cylinder, we have all this going on right there. First of all, the cable comes in and it's held with this metal clip right here. That's a good safety feature and also quality feature. And the wires come out of the cable at this point and are attached to this side and this side. Then we have this heat shrink tubing which has been shrunk over this joint. Let's cut it off and see what is underneath this. Let's remove this heat shrink tubing right here and also put it aside. So you can see the white cable, this is white wire, this is a black wire, this is our V out, the white one, this is our return or ground. So this V out goes in through the cable and comes out right here. This one is a piece of it, and joins this connector assembly on this side. The black one comes out and joins on this side. And what was causing our short is that at this point, this white wire is missing its white insulation. Both wires are touching at that point. All we want to do is to attempt to remove this broken piece and cut off this cable around this point and start all over again. So with our soldering bit, let's hit off this spoiled wire and remove it. You should be able to come right off just like that. The other thing I should mention is that when you're removing these wires, you should be careful which side goes where. Our black is on this upper side when the pins are facing downward. The pins are facing upwards, it's the white which is on this side. So let's remove the white also, just like that. At this point, you want to do two things. First of all, we want to remove this end of the wire here because it's spoiled, and just to make our work easier, we cut like 1 centimeter from the end of this cable. Make a clean cut just like that. Remember, do not remove this from the cable, because if you remove it, we want to solder this back right here. If you remove it and you find out that it is outside, we'll have to break and to destroy our work, push it in, then solder again. So remember to slide it in or leave it in or connect it to the cable like that. Now before we proceed any further and solder this point and the other point, I want to test if there is continuity between this point and the pins, these pins. For that, we use our multimeter again. This is rather cumbersome because these are small components. I'm just attaching it to that end, and let's test and probe which is connected to this. The first and the last pins are connected to this end. Turning this over to this other side, you attach this end of the multimeter to that point and then probe again. So there is no short, there is no continuity is there, but there is no short. So when we solder this, our white wire will go there and it will be connected to these two pins, and the black wire will come to this other side. Okay, now what remains is to prepare this end right here to be able to solder it there. We're going to cut off a bit of this rubber insulation and do just that. Now here's the end of our cable. I've removed a little bit, maybe half a centimeter of the rubber insulation from this side, and I've exposed these two wires. This bare one does not have insulation. The white one is there, the V out with the white insulation. And because it doesn't have insulation, I've cut a piece of heat shrink tubing which will slide over that, and we'll cut a bit of this to expose the end of this V out wire so as to solder it here. And remember, this whole joint was covered at this point with heat shrink tubing, a black one. We removed it. So to replace that, I've slid in a piece of heat shrink tubing here. This is in red, so that once we are through with soldering that joint, we can slide this to come and cover it. So next, let's prepare this end and solder it to this. Now we're ready to solder. I've already put heat shrink tubing on this negative V return wire. Now this, we said if we connect the black here, it will be the right side, because this black, which we have now replaced with the yellow, is supposed to be soldered there, and this connects to these two outer pins. This is important, don't interchange. If you're not sure, use your multimeter to confirm these two last pins are connected to which side, this or the one underneath. I've already used my multimeter and confirmed that this point here is connected to these two, so I am ready to solder this to that point. Then I'll turn this over and solder this white to the other point. Now I'm holding it down. I'm holding this connector assembly with this long nose pliers so that it can stay still while I solder. I place my wire just like that and solder this in place. Just like that. You can pull it off. Now it's held tightly. Let's solder this other side. This is my connector. Both wires have been soldered in. Now I just want to test if there's continuity between this point. Remember, the white wire connects to these two middle pins. The black wire, which we've now turned to yellow, connects to the two outer ones. So we can start with let's start with this. Put one connection right there, contact, then test the outer two. So that is good. Testing on this other side. So there is no short circuitry and there is continuity to the relevant pins. So this is okay. Now one thing we want to do is to test this all connection if it's working. We want to see those two LED lights, the amber and the green, work before we pull everything into this. So let's connect this to a MacBook, and don't worry about this, it's very easy. All we need is this metallic contact right here. Just push it back over these pins just like that. Now I'm really anxious to see how this will turn out. Now here is our connector connected to the, let me move it first of all. Those are the pins right there. We place the metal contact right there. All we want to do is to use this to place our connector assembly here through that. Make sure it holds firm, and I've placed a bit of rubber band here so that if that connection is not firm, I can use it to hold the connector in place, and so that the pins may have a proper contact. Now I'll leave it like that and try to connect it to our power source and see if we have light there, which shows there is charging and there is the connector is working fine. So be careful. Connect our power source like this, and that's perfect. The connector is turning from green to amber. That's what you want to see if you've done a good job. That's what you want to see. We can do it again just to confirm the perfection of this work. This is already connected to a power source right there. These wires are just sticking out. Good. That's what you want to see. We can now go ahead and assemble this. We want to bring that inside here and have a complete cable. Before you go ahead and assemble this, in the casing we had heat shrink tubing which was used to cover this joint. So we slid in this red heat shrink tubing here so that we can use it to cover the joint when we are through. Now just slide it over the joint here. I hope it will be able to fit it appears to have shrunk already. Well, here is the heat shrink tubing over the joint. See, it has covered the joint completely. I'm just applying a bit of heat to make sure that it shrinks, as the name says. That's it. Now you cannot be able to see where we soldered. Before we slide this connect assembly into the aluminum casing, we have one more thing to do here. You see this rubber insulation which is on top here. We need to apply some glue and slide it inside here so that it can be secured. We apply some glue to this end, just like that. This is super glue, and we move very fast and push this inside here all the way to that point. We leave only the usual distance which we see outside the connector casing, just like that. That one will set. Inside here I've cleaned all the glue which was there, the excess glue. It is now clean, and down there you can see that luminous orange strip of plastic. That one prevents the aluminum casing from causing shorts between these pins. Next, we slide this into that. Just like that, we've gotten the pin assembly inside the aluminum casing, and up here there is a lock where this goes into, so we need to push it down and to the front. I'll do that right now. Put glue all around. Oh, there's some residual glue from the past here. Okay, remove that. Glue is also good, it acts as an insulator. And then now quickly place our plastic guide right here, again ensuring the glue does not touch it, and then we'll place this metal pin quickly over here. Should do it quickly. It's refusing to go in. I want to use once you place it there, I want to use a pair of pliers over a piece of cloth and close this in, just like that. Here is our connector. I've squeezed this tightly so that it can join this other aluminum casing, and I've used a piece of cloth over it like that to squeeze it in. You can still do it because I don't want these teeth marks of the pliers to be on that metal contact. I want it to be as smooth as it is, so the piece of cloth prevents that. And now that one is completely fixed. We need to put some glue right here at the back here so as to retain this cable inside this rubber insulation. Otherwise it looks good. The only thing we can do is to remove a bit of the glue which has slipped around, but that's it. Now we want to put some glue inside here to ensure that this goes right through. I'll just put a piece of metal right there so as to open that up, so when I put my glue it seeps right in through there. Put a generous portion just like that, and then rotate this so that it goes all round. Oh, it is good. And then you can use a piece of cloth again to press firmly onto this. You don't want the glue to get into contact with your fingers. With the glue in there, that cable is going nowhere. So that's how the cable looks like. And next thing we have to do is to test if this is working. This is our MacBook. We're going to use this MagSafe 1 to MagSafe 2 connector. Place it right there on the MacBook. The charging port. Just like that, because this is MagSafe 1 and this is a Retina MagSafe 2 MacBook Air. So we need this adapter in order to convert that to that. Now we place our cable right there, our connector. This other end of the cable, we want to connect it to our charger, which we've already connected to power. Let's look at that point right there. That is what will tell us if our charger is working or not. So carefully, once again, connect white to white, black to black. Here we go, green, then amber or orange. So our cable has been repaired and this works fine. So if you want to repair your MagSafe 1 cable or connector, this is how you go about it. Once again, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate for your time. And if you like this, kindly hit the like button, subscribe and share with others. Thanks for your time. Bye.